On a fateful July day in 2009, Anthony Cannon, a 26-year-old involved in Dublin's criminal underworld, ventured into Ballyfermot for what he believed was a pre-arranged meeting. Cannon, a key figure in Brian Rattigan's gang, was already implicated in violent acts against rival groups, including a vicious attack on the home of opposing gang leader, Fat Freddie Thompson. Cannon's notorious reputation and involvement in numerous firearm incidents, such as drive-by shootings targeting rivals' family homes, had made him a marked man. Living under constant threat, he had received official warnings about the danger to his life. On this particular day, while out on bail for assault charges, he took the precaution of wearing body armor. As Cannon drove through Ballyfermot, he suddenly noticed two individuals on a motorcycle rapidly approaching, one visibly armed. Realizing the imminent threat, he abandoned his vehicle and made a desperate dash towards Longmeadows Park. In a frantic attempt to escape, he tried to vault over the park's railings, but the masked assailant closed in with deadly accuracy. The attacker opened fire, unleashing a barrage of 11 shots. 2 bullets struck Cannon in the head, causing him to collapse instantly. The gunman continued his merciless assault as Cannon lay motionless. Bystanders, including children, watched in horror as the gruesome scene unfolded. One courageous individual approached to assist, only to discover the extent of Cannon's fatal injuries. The assailants swiftly fled on their motorcycle, disappearing into the urban landscape. This incident marked the 17th gang-related homicide that year, leaving the community shaken and highlighting the ongoing violence plaguing the city's criminal landscape. In the aftermath of Anthony Cannon's shocking murder, law enforcement quickly focused their investigation on Keith Wilson. Keith and his brothers, Eric and John, would soon become infamous figures in Ireland's criminal landscape. The Wilson brothers grew up on Crumlin Road in Ballyfermot, initially cherished by their mother Kathleen. However, their lives took a sinister turn at an early age. While still in their teens, the brothers began attracting police attention. It's believed that John, the oldest, initially led his younger siblings towards criminal activities, but Eric and Keith soon surpassed him in notoriety. Eric, nicknamed Lucky, gained a particularly fearsome reputation as one of Ireland's most active underworld assassins. Keith closely followed his brother's path into violent crime. The Wilson brothers' rise to infamy cast a dark cloud over their childhood neighborhood of Ballyfermot, transforming it from a place of youthful memories to one associated with their violent legacy. When the decision was made to eliminate Anthony Cannon, Eric Wilson was abroad in Spain. Despite the distance, he masterminded the operation, recruiting his younger brother Keith to carry out the deadly mission. In the crucial moments before the attack, Eric provided Keith with precise instructions via phone, meticulously planning every detail. This assassination was believed to be Keith's first murder, marking a grim turning point in his criminal career. Tragically, it would not be his last foray into lethal violence. Though Keith never faced legal consequences for the Cannon incident, this act of violence set him on an irreversible course towards notoriety. Roughly a year later, Keith would commit what would prove to be a fateful error, taking the life of another criminal figure in Finglas. In August 2010, Daniel Gaynor, a volatile hitman associated with the real IRA, was walking along St. Helens Road in Finglas with his partner and 2 children. Unbeknownst to them, danger was imminent. Without warning, an assailant appeared and opened fire in broad daylight. A single shot to Gaynor's neck abruptly ended their family outing and his life. Law enforcement quickly arrived at the scene, discovering not only the murder weapon but also a wealth of evidence left behind. Given Gaynor's violent history, investigators were faced with a complex web of potential motives and suspects. However, the perpetrator's carelessness provided crucial leads. Items left at the scene included gloves, headwear, outerwear, and a Sturm Ruger SP-101 firearm. These abandoned articles yielded DNA evidence, offering investigators a promising avenue for identification. 3 months later, on November 7, 2010, authorities arrested their primary suspect, Keith Wilson. Known for his underworld connections, Wilson had allegedly been contracted for this cold-blooded act. However, his lack of experience in such operations led to his downfall, as he left behind vital evidence at the crime scene. Following the incident, Wilson sought sanctuary in Spain, a familiar retreat for him and his brother Eric. Although he managed to avoid capture initially, his respite was short-lived. Months later, authorities received intelligence that Wilson was planning to return to Dublin. A carefully orchestrated operation involving numerous armed detectives resulted in Wilson's arrest at Dublin Airport. Wilson, however, refused to provide DNA samples voluntarily. This prompted Detective Colm Fox, a renowned investigator who passed away in 2018, to devise an ingenious alternative. Fox had the exercise yard meticulously cleaned, photographed, and recorded before allowing Wilson access. During the extensive interrogation process, which involved 10 separate interviews, Wilson was given a break for exercise. Afterward, 3 discarded cigarette butts were collected and sent for laboratory analysis. The results revealed that all 3 samples matched the DNA found on the gun, glove, cap, and hoodie from the crime scene. This case marked one of the earliest instances where law enforcement employed the tactic of obtaining DNA from a suspect's discarded items. Throughout his interactions with the authorities, Wilson maintained his innocence, claiming he had been working for a removal company on Spain's Costa del Sol for the past 4 months. While in custody, Wilson received a warning from his brother John to remain silent. Heeding this advice, Wilson consistently responded with no comment when presented with items from the crime scene and informed of the DNA match. He was also shown CCTV footage of himself smoking and informed that additional items he had used in custody, such as a toothbrush and towel, would undergo DNA testing. During the investigation, authorities probed Wilson about his connection to Sean Hunt, a notorious Ballyfermot smuggler. Investigators suspected Hunt had ordered the hit in retaliation for the death of Colm "Collie" Owens. Hunt, an influential criminal figure who died on Christmas Eve 2019, was believed to have mentored the Wilson brothers, molding them into ruthless operatives. Hunt had been embroiled in a conflict with a North Dublin Real IRA faction led by Alan Ryan, who was later killed in Clongriffin in 2012. The feud escalated when Ryan's group orchestrated Owens's murder at his workplace in Finglas. Owens was targeted due to his associations with the Ballyfermot criminal network, which included Hunt, Mark Guinea Pig Desmond, and the Wilsons. It's thought that Hunt, Owens's employer, held Gaynor responsible for Owens' death. Enraged by this killing, the Ballyfermot group allegedly decided Gaynor must be eliminated and enlisted the Wilson brothers for the task. Records show that Keith arrived in Dublin from Malaga just 5 days before the incident, flying on flight E185 at a cost of $250. He then returned to Spain on August 18th via Ryanair, paying $88.47. Both flights were booked under an alias, Nicholas Johnston, using a Visa card. After returning to Spain, Keith quickly became the prime suspect, but maintained a low profile until deciding to return to Ireland, where he was promptly arrested upon arrival. When asked to provide a DNA sample, Keith staunchly refused, stating, "Not a chance." Despite his non-cooperation with law enforcement, the overwhelming evidence led to his conviction, resulting in a life sentence. After his sentencing, Keith was said to harbor a desire for retribution over the killing of his eldest brother John, who had been fatally shot in September 2012. The Wilson brothers had gained notoriety as contract killers within Dublin's criminal circles. Among the 3 siblings involved in this illicit trade, while Keith may not have commanded the same level of fear as Eric, he had accumulated a significant criminal record prior to Gaynor's murder. This record included 9 convictions, mostly for driving-related offenses, but also encompassed property damage, making threats, and disorderly conduct. Keith's life sentence coincided with a similar fate for his brother Eric, who was serving a life term in Spain for the brutal killing of British criminal Dan Smith in 2010. This turn of events meant the 2 Wilson brothers were now serving life sentences, while the third, John, had met a violent end. The Wilson family, including Keith and Eric, along with their cousin Alan and nephew Luke, cemented their infamous reputation as Ireland's preeminent clan of contract killers. This series of events underscored the depth of the Wilson family's involvement in organized crime and the severe consequences that ultimately befell them. Their story serves as a stark illustration of the destructive cycle of violence and retribution that often characterizes the criminal underworld. That was it for today's video. What are your thoughts on today's topic? If you found this content engaging and informative, we encourage you to show your support by giving the video a thumbs up. Additionally, if you're interested in staying updated with our future content, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue to produce and improve our content. We appreciate your viewership and look forward to bringing you more interesting topics in our upcoming videos.